Do you think, I'll go back to ADR again, because obviously it's my thing and I like to pick on you for it, but given the limitations, of the legislation and all that, do you think you as the competent authority were not given enough powers to monitor it all and approve it all?
It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing because the first answer is yes, I don't think we were given enough powers. But there's an advantage to not having powers in a way, and that's you have to regulate by consensus and agreement, and that has given a much better relationship between Andy and the team at CTSI and the providers, because you have to do things by consent. Yes, you've got a minimum standard that everyone should comply with, but when you're trying to drive improvements, so there are better relationships because of that. But I do still think there's some missing underpinning around fit and proper. Fit and proper and being able to mandate in certain sectors is there, and I think there is a question around how we can make sure that where you're using sector knowledge, like trade associations, that works in the best interest of consumers. And that conflicts of interest aren't swaying towards businesses. So I think transparency, fit and proper, and mandation are the three things we need to get in, and they're the three powers that I think if you gave them to the competent authority, you'd see the right level of improvement.
So you're mixed in that you're saying that you didn't have enough powers, but I'm thinking that you're talking about minimum standards before, and that your hands are tied a little bit because of legislation. But were you stopped from putting in higher standards for approval of ADR?
Yeah, because we were auditing to someone else's standard.
Where government was shown, I'm going to bang on about this, but
I know you are.
Where government was shown, and you've got to agree, Lon, where government was shown quite clearly, the Ombudsman Association had higher standards because they kicked out a provider, right?
Yeah.
They clearly had standards that were higher than CTSI's. So what's that all about?
Yeah, no, and they clearly did, but that's not unusual,
Well, it's not unusual. It's not unusual for Ombudsman Association to have higher standards than a competent authority.
Yeah, it isn't unusual for trade bodies and other sectors to have slightly higher standards within their scheme than it does sit within the public sector.
But do you think that's acceptable?
No, and that's I wouldn't hide away from that. But I think and I've already explained the background of where we came to that. It was simple transposing the directive over. So within the political confines of what we had to work with, and when I say we, I do mean colleagues at Bays. Within that political confines, I think we did the best job possible. We've now got an opportunity with this command paper, if we ever get it, in addressing some of those shortcomings. So the fit and proper person test within ADR should align with the fit and proper test within the Ombudsman Association, and should align with the fit and proper test within the code scheme. So you've got that leveling up.